I hate every Sky pundit, said Ewan. So I have to say, look, I try to be consistent, Ewan, in what I say. I don't hate Neville and Carragher, but I don't like them talking about Liverpool stuff. When we're not talking about Liverpool stuff, I enjoy Neville and Carragher. But it felt like we got rid of Martin Tyler, who I know wasn't a United fan according to Sky, but was certainly very enthusiastic on all things United. And now I have to listen to Gary Neville. Gary Neville commenting on Liverpool games, want Mohamed Salah to get yellow cards for simulation when he's probably the least protected player in the whole goddamn league. So yeah, Neville can get in the bin first and foremost. Do you know what? I'm sick of the sound of Gary Neville's voice. It feels like I can't go for a shit without Gary Neville being in the bathroom telling me I'm doing it wrong. So that's where I'm at right now. And I'm going to try and give you my version of why I think that Gary Neville is very wrong about his assessment of Liverpool, as always. And why I think Jamie needs to just tone it down a little bit with regards to the Curtis Jones love-in. Curtis deserves all the credit for his performance yesterday. It was fantastic and deservedly man of the match. But to suggest that we might not need Martin Zubimendi or another midfielder, it is madness, because we know, and we discussed this with David earlier, Curtis Jones hasn't been able to really go injury-free for a very long time either. So we have to take that in consideration when we're talking about these things. Right, Stevie boy, there he is, sir. How are you? It still blows my mind, dude, thinking of you over there in Australia, chatting with us every day, man. It's brilliant. I look forward to you coming in and saying hello. So, Stevie boy said, credit Curtis Jones for a great game, but one good game doesn't mean Liverpool don't need a midfielder. Yes, and do you know what? Even Stevie boy, if we went a little bit further and said, let's give Curtis Jones a given that he's going to do well for the season, it still, to me, means we need another midfielder, because we need a particular type of midfielder. And yes, Curtis Jones could do a job in a role, but Curtis Jones, we know, is more of an attacking-minded midfielder. Zubimendi, we need to give Gravenberch a break, if nothing else. You know, it's not that we don't think Gravenberch is good enough. He absolutely is. But we need to be able to rotate and rest up so we don't get into this situation where we start picking up these injuries from fatigue. As an example, we're speaking about Trent Alexander-Arnold and why he was taken off yesterday. David said it was to do with, just managing the minutes, making sure that Trent wasn't overworked after obviously struggling coming back from the England camps. And we need to do that across the board. So I would say to Jamie Carragher, I would calm down a little bit, Jamie. I always enjoy listening to him, but I'd calm down a little bit on the we don't need Jones stuff. I think Sky did him a little bit dirty as well, by the way. I'll tell you why in a second. So, I went to read the Sky Sports articles around the game yesterday, and the headline caught my attention. And the headline from Sky, I think, has actually just stitched Jamie up good and proper. The headline read, Carra, Jones proved Liverpool don't need Zubimendi. In quotation marks. Jamie Carragher never uttered that sentence the way it was written there by Sky. I'll show you what Jamie actually said, but Sky are stitching him up. Sky have said, Carra, quote, Jones proved Liverpool don't need Zubimendi. Here's what he actually said. Because again, I don't like seeing Jamie Carragher thrown under the bus. I wonder if Arne Slot is going to go back in for Zubimendi in January. But when you see how he played today, you think, no, he has to now do it on a consistent basis. Speaking about Curtis Jones. Never said we don't need Jones. Sky did him up like a kipper there, which isn't great, is it, for an outlet like Sky? Misquoting their own hosts. That's why I mute the TV and listen to you, Craig, as a commentator, said Des Paul. You know what? I was playing around, Des, with the idea, should I do more actual in-game commentary when we're doing the watch-alongs? Because some people get annoyed at me for reading out comments. Some people get annoyed at me for not reading out comments. So I wonder what the best thing all around is. Should I give commentary on the game and then read out super chats and then at half-time get into the comments, or carry on as we're doing it now? I don't know what people want, so, I'm here to do whatever you guys think is best. Alex said, see, the press are starting to give us credit. Are they? Some are. So Gary Neville said, Arsenal are the only team who can take on ominous Manchester City. I don't know what Gary's been watching, but Manchester City are not looking ominous to me. Now, I get what he means. I think what Gary Neville's trying to say is the way they won that game against Wolves yesterday, they're still showing that steeliness, that strong mentality to win these games at the death. That's fair enough. But can we stop the love-in with Arsenal? Because it's really grown old very quickly. What makes Arsenal the only contenders to Manchester City right now when we're sitting here 4 points ahead of them after the same amount of games played? We've beaten United away. We've beaten Chelsea at home. In fact, we've won every game bar one that Arne Slot has been here. And Gary Neville, the bitter little Manchester-based journalist that he is, seems to believe that Arsenal are the only contenders. I mean, is that dude ever going to give us any fucking credit? You know, when he's not talking about our midfield not being better than United's or United not finishing ahead of us, he still just refuses to acknowledge what's in front of his face. We get it. Everybody wants Arsenal to win a league title in the London-centric media. We get it. Everybody wants Arsenal back up there. But the truth is, and the fact of the matter is, there's only one team, one club, that's really put it up to Manchester City over the last 7 or 8 years, and it's Liverpool Football Club. So the fact that Neville still won't give us that credit, I think he's going to be made to look even more foolish as the season goes on, because it's just silliness at this point. You know, one shit take after another about Liverpool and nobody there to challenge him. You know, I don't know what else to say, but that's my take on the whole Neville stuff. I mean, they're all going to be made to eat their words eventually. The dugout said, keep underestimating us, Neville. Yes, keep underestimating us indeed, Doug. And do you know what? Can Sky just stop putting them on our games? Because no Liverpool fan watching them games wants to listen to them. And I get it. It's not just Liverpool fans watching the games, but it's very galling to listen to this bitter little man talking about Salah simulating. And I want to just take you to a post that one of the lads on Twitter posted, and I like this lad's account. If you're on Twitter, you probably know what I'm talking about. The gentleman's name is Barry. And Barry has had something to say on this, so let me just get my notes open here, and we'll talk about what Barry has had to say. So, Barry said this, and I think most Liverpool fans would agree with Barry. So Barry's account is at Backseatsman LFC. And he said, Neville sat on commentary for the biggest broadcaster in football, and crying about Salah not being booked for this incident is the kind of shit that feeds into the narrative that Salah is a diver, which leads to him being refereed differently, most manhandled player in the league. And that's been echoed by many people on social media. He doesn't get protection from referees, and this narrative, this lazy narrative from Neville, along with the lazy narrative around Trent from Roy Keane, needs to be called out for what it is. Absolute horseshit. Absolute anti-Liverpool nonsense from lads who just don't want to give us the credit. Like, Roy Keane is still banging on about Trent not being able to defend, when I don't know how many wingers he needs to put in his pocket at this point this season, because nobody really got much joy against him yesterday. Sancho was subbed off at half time. Rafael got no change out of Trent either. It needs to stop, because it is building a narrative against these players. And Sky are the very ones who are out here telling us all about respecting the game and to see it, report it, and all the other stuff that I think we'll all agree is a good cause. But they got to practice what they preach. You know, we can't be having this respect shit and then have to listen to this absolute tripe from Keane and Neville, who just are bitter about Liverpool being where they are. I'm fed up of it. I want better for my money that I'm paying every month, and I know many Liverpool fans feel the same. So, Will said, hiya Craig, bored with Neville and co. They'll never stop, so I've stopped listening. Instead, AA commentary is the best to watch live games. I appreciate that, mate, I do. And look, I try to be so fair with this stuff, as fair as I can be as a Liverpool fan, because I credit Neville and Carragher for the great stuff they do on Monday Night Football, and I do feel they add a lot to punditry. But I don't like Neville being near any of our games, because he's not being, what's the word I'm looking for? He's not being rational, he's not being fair, and he's not being measured in his analysis. He's just constantly looking to undermine us at every opportunity. You can even hear the disdain in his voice sometimes on comms. It's pathetic, especially the Salah stuff. He needs to stop it. Because he'd be the first one if people were calling for United players, foreign United players, to get booked for simulation. He'd be the first one on there. But when Harry Kane does it, when Harry Kane does it with England, or when Harry Kane did it with Spurs, clever. Gamesmanship. We know. Nick said, Salah gets hugged every time a ball is played long to him from our backline keeper. It'd be a lot more apparent if he wasn't so strong. Neville was a brilliant player, but a rotten pundit and commentator, said Nick. So, again, I agree. Salah gets manhandled week in and week out. and has tremendous upper body strength, which at the times holds these players off. But I don't understand any narrative around the man being a diver. I'm trying to be objective about this because I really just don't see how Mohamed Salah dives. I'm not saying he's never gone down easily. He's a forward. Most of them at some point will try to win a foul or a free kick or a penalty. But the way Neville goes on, you swear he's at it all the time. Like, it's just wrong. And it builds this narrative again that a referee's going to go into the game and think, I'm giving them nothing. I'm going into Anfield, never mind the atmosphere, never mind that, and I'm giving them nothing. I'm giving them nothing easy here. And that felt kind of like what John Brooks did when he came there yesterday. So myself and David disagreed on certain incidents in the game, but we both agreed that John Brooks did not handle that game very well yesterday. And to hear Maresca moaning about decisions after the game, I don't know what game he was watching, but Enzo, both teams were shafted by John Brooks yesterday, and I certainly felt more shafted as a Liverpool fan.